Seanna Thomas is here for Meal Prep Monday, and she's sharing some make-ahead recipes for Thanksgiving. I like that. It literally is meal prep.
Yeah.
And it helps you it's a busy time of the year. Like I'm hosting a little gathering. My mom's coming into town.
Nice.
I need all the tips I can get. So help me out, Seanna.
Yeah, so well, first, it's a big day, and there's lots that goes into it, right? So there's a couple things you can actually make in advance, like your gravy. So I know everyone might be like, oh my God, how can you not make it, with the fresh drippings? And you can use those, but you can make it in advance with some broth and cook up some onions and do all of that stuff and freeze it, and then bring it out and just heat it up on the day and just add those fresh, turkey drippings.
That's very smart.
Exactly. And you can also freeze whipped cream. You can make it in advance. Yeah, you just need to stabilize it a little bit. So you can add a little gelatin, you can add some corn syrup, you can even add a little bit of Greek yogurt.
Greek yogurt, that I'll remember. The other stuff, I don't know if I'll remember.
But you make it just as you usually would, add that in, and then you can freeze it, and then just whip it up, and bring it out and thaw it while you're eating dinner, and it'll be ready for you after.
That's very helpful, because there's a lot of multitasking going on.
Oh, for sure.
And chopping up vegetables is also
chopping vegetables in advance as well, and then also if you're making a cocktail, you can make a big pitcher of it instead of making each individual drink if you're having a bunch of people over too. So those are little things that can save you time on the day.
And delegate the chopping too sometimes.
Yes.
Well, it depends on how old the kids are.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for sure, yeah. But I for sure, all my kids are going to help. Definitely.
Yes. Okay, good. I'll put my Aunt Susie to work.
Yeah.
There is, you've got a couple of beautiful and very good smelling recipes here.
Yes.
For us.
So this first one is a sausage stuffing, and I love to make this one in advance because you kind of half make it and then bring it out on the day so it's still beautiful and hot and wonderful for the dinner.
What's in here?
So you cook up the sausage first, put it aside, and then you're cooking up the typical ingredients of onions and celery. I use fresh sage and fresh thyme, and I find those ingredients really come through, and they're so warm and just taste like fall and Thanksgiving to me. Yeah. So you put all that in one bowl, toss in a whole loaf of stale bread, and that's the best thing about stuffing. It doesn't have to be fresh, right? Buy it a couple days before.
Stale but not moldy.
Stale but not moldy. Please don't use moldy bread. But then at that point, you can let it cool completely, put it in a freezer bag, and stuff it in your freezer until Thanksgiving. On the day of, you bring it out, you add a little bit of egg, like you whisk up some eggs and some broth. I used my own for this one. I had some turkey broth in my freezer, and then you just bake it up for about half an hour, and it is beautiful and fresh and wonderful, but you've done most of the work already.
It's like a warm hug.
It's like a warm stuffing
for my
hug.
belly.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, this looks really, really good. Now, I know you made a little variation for me because you know how much I'm pumpkin spice.
Not a big fan of pumpkin and pumpkin spice, but you can use pumpkin in this recipe as well if you wanted
okay with
to.
Pumpkin, just not the pumpkin spice.
Okay.
Cloves and nutmeg.
Well, this is just cinnamon then, so you should be okay.
Happy.
But if you have a lot of sweet potatoes, they're really cheap at this time of year. You can get them from the farmer's market for like pennies.
Really?
Yeah, and you can totally swap them in if you're not a fan of pumpkin. You can use sweet potato in their place. You can use squash too. They're all interchangeable. Squash. Yeah, and it makes this delicious and sweet. I sweetened this with maple syrup, this bundt cake, and so once again, a great dessert to have. You can make it in advance, put it in your freezer, and then when you're serving it, all you need to do is make this little bit of a maple glaze.
The top shot here.
Yes, I know.
Oh, it's so decorative.
I know. And you could put whatever you want on here. You could even use like a salted caramel sauce, whatever you like, whatever you have.
It's like an autumn flower there.
It is. Isn't it just so pretty? And then if you want to grab those pecans, or as my dad used to say, pecans.
And with my fingers, I have washed my hands, or just you want me to
whatever you want. I'm sure you're clean. It's fine. And then, you just scatter those on top and then serve it up. You can serve it with that whipped cream that you froze. You just toss them everywhere. But let me cut a slice for you here, and you can try it. But when you freeze it, when it comes out of the oven, you let it cool and then freeze it. It is so, and I know we don't love this word, but moist and delicious. It is an awesome
I like
flavor
those words.
cake.
It's Lisa Morales, our traffic
I know.
reporter.
Sorry, Lisa. Sorry.
Moist
and Sonia
delicious.
doesn't like it either.
Moist and delicious. Okay.
But anyway, this is a great cake to make in advance. It also could double as maybe a breakfast too, like a decadent little breakfast.
Yes, it can.
If you don't
day.
feel like making something the next morning. So really, really great options to make in advance.
And we can find these recipes where?
Seanna Thomas Nutrition, Instagram and Facebook. They'll be there this week in time for Thanksgiving, I promise.
Okay, I'm going to stop talking. We're going to set it to break, and I'm just going to go breakfast every day.
There you go. Isn't that so good? Yeah, I love it. Oh, you're welcome.